Hi, this is Greg Hildebrandt. I've been a professional artist for 62 years. I've done a lot of artwork in that time, and I'm still just trying to get it right.
Greg, how are you doing, sir?
Good. How you doing, Keith?
I am doing well. And hello to the people that are already viewing. Uh, Good to see your little icons there again. And so, hello. If you have any questions, comments, or anything you want to ask Greg Hildebrandt, please type it in and we'll get to it. So, what are we doing today, sir?
Well, I'm going to continue this painting of Godzilla fighting Tiamat, the five-headed dragon from Dungeons and Dragons. We started this last week, and I just want to recap the procedure I use. First, this is a private commission for a collector. And first is the sketch. I do this drawing. Whoops, let me get this straight here. I always get everything's backwards, on the screen. So there, I do a sketch. He approved it. Then I blow it up on my copy machine to the size that we determined to do the painting. And this is what this is. And then so I'll peel this back. Here's the painting so far. This is acrylic paint. I use acrylics on canvas. And I start first of all by painting the canvas black. I put 2 coats of Mars black on the canvas and then a coat of dioxazine purple, which is this very deep, intense purple, which I paint all my shadow colors to. And this I started last week. We started right here with the atomic breath of Godzilla. And then I painted some of the dragon, one of the dragons here, the breath, to get the lighting right. So you got these principal 2 colors of light up here from the fire, the yellow, orange, red fire, and his blue, white breath, which lights up everything down this way. So, and then there's fire in the distance, all the wreckage. This is like not in a city, which they generally are battling all the time. And how many cities have they reconstructed in Godzilla movies?
A lot.
It's like Hong Kong got it this time, but good.
Yes.
Boston in the last one, right? But I mean, over the years, it's like incredible how many cities get wiped out.
Well, in the latest one, Florida got it too, right? Or at least
Yeah.
one.
Yes.
One
yes.
building.
Yep. But here, there's no city wipage out. It's just all rocks and everything. I'm going to put this little guy down. You see him down here?
Yes.
Even though he's in the foreground at some distance from these guys, just to give it some kind of scale,
Okay.
And because he's out here, he's about that big.
Yes.
Like this. So these guys, I think Kong in this, like Jim was doing some research on it. Kong was like, how many feet tall, Gene? 375 feet tall or something like that.
In the new one.
In the new one. The original King Kong.
Greg is 335 feet.
335 feet tall, which, of course, the original Kong, the Cooper film, and Willis O'Brien puppet was, of course, only 18 inches tall, but he was supposed to be about 50 feet tall in that film. And that's kind of like the beginning, and then then the Toho one where he battles Godzilla, the guy with the costume, that starts to get the big size change, right? Anyway, whatever. So here we are.
So there we are. So what? See, you've got the lights turned on.
Yeah, the lights are turned on here.
Yep. Not everything is completely lit up yet. That's why we still have the black spot of the dragon. But what particular parts are you working on today?
I don't know. I'm just putzing around. I'll probably work on Godzilla a bit here more yet. In this area up in here, I think, maybe. So, and again, I've got another thing that I have here, Gene got me, was this dragon model, Godzilla model, that I put in lighting. You have to turn them at all these different angles to get the body parts lit right. But I did this kind of gig, lit them up with colored lights that I have to sort of approximate what I'm after,
Okay.
And you get, the shape that way and the way the light hits and everything. You know, it's not like I'm copying the photos. They're reference points. You know.
Right, stop saying no.
Yep.
Gene said, "Stop saying you know." I always say you know. It's kind of like
But you don't have to repeat me.
so. You got this blue color, which when the blue here goes into this color on the warm color on the top, I go through like a magenta. Well, actually magenta. Magenta with white in it. It's a mid range value between this highlight color and this highlight color, the blue. So
You're
it's just
going from a fire red
your
into a
your voice is breaking
purple.
up, Keith. Keith, you're kind of like breaking up. I didn't quite understand what you said.
Okay, sorry. Can you hear me clearly now, Greg?
Now I can hear you.
Okay, I'm sorry. I said so. You're going from the fire red through a magenta into the purple.
Into the blue. Well, it goes. It
Into
can
the
go
blue.
from the. This goes from yellow to orange to red, cadmium red light, straight out of the tube, and then magenta with white in it, and then down in here it's purple, dioxazine purple with white in it, into the blue. So you're basically going on the color wheel, you know, or through the
Yep.
rainbow, how the rainbow works, how the prism. Because if you try to jump,
why
what?
don't you go straight from the why don't you go straight from the fire red right into the blue?
It'll turn to mud. Let me see what that looks like here. Here, on here, let me see. Here is cadmium red.
Can you do it a little bit larger?
What?
Can you
bigger?
make your can you do your sample a little bit larger?
Yeah. Wait a minute. Let me grab a piece of paper. There's cadmium red. See it?
Yep.
Cadmium red light. If I go right to the light value of blue, that's this right there. See that light value? That's phthalocyanine blue with white in it. That's this color. See it there?
Yep. Yeah.
Watch what happens when I mix it into the red.
Go a little bit larger with that. Okay.
Can you see that?
Yeah. Can you bring that a little bit closer to the camera? Got you. Okay.
See,
Now, can you show us?
With magenta?
Yeah, it goes like a dirty gray color.
Yeah, it's just muddy, grayish, something greenish. And you could paint that way. I mean, you could paint a picture that way. But I choose not to.
Can you
So
show us what it looks like on that paper going through the magenta?
Yeah, right now. There's magenta. Can you see it?
Yep.
I don't know if that reads or not.
It does. That's very, very clear demonstration.
So it's basically the color wheel. You can't leap from red to blue, even though they say if you mix red and blue, it turns out purple. Well, it turns out mud, literally. It depends, I suppose, on the colors of red. I'm talking about these cadmiums, in the particular cadmium light. Even if you mix that with ultramarine blue, it'll even get worse.
Now, correct me if I'm wrong on this, but that cad red light is more of an orange toned
Vermilion, for lack of a better term, red orange.
red.
Yeah, red orange. And then cadmium red medium is a less yellow red. it's the less yellow. Then there's cadmium red deep, which is moving towards purple. You know, in a sense, it's moving towards purple, which is between red, purple, blue. You know. Are you there?
Deep into the
What?
blue.
What?
I'm
You
gonna
keep
hang
cutting
up and
out,
call
man.
you back. I'm gonna hang up and call you back.
All right. So the thing when I'm painting this kind of like, how far do you want to make your light travel? You know, it comes here as the light is the brightest on an object when it's obviously closer to it. As it gets further away from an object, it gets less light on it. So, and that's kind of like an artistic decision. You know, how far do I want to make this orange color travel? And I'll probably start to diminish it here. I got a little bit on the leg here, which I'm starting to mess around with as a halfway color. Let's try. That was to put some of the magenta on there, because this is a combination of blue and that orange hitting the top of the leg here. And the blue is hitting from the front. This fire is hitting on the top of the leg.
How you doing, Greg?
All right. How's everything?
Sorry, I moved locations.
You
Today
what?
apparently is one of those days.
One of these technological days.
Yeah, my apologies.
It's all right. What are
I
you going
tried
to do about
to
it?
I
Well,
tried
here.
to move locations and change my background up because I have my kids' paintings back there.
So I was just talking about light traveling, you know. When you're closest to the light source is closest to an object, it's the brightest. And as that parts of the objects get, this creature get, body parts get further away from the light source, it starts to get duller and it becomes more or less an eyeball thing. You know, how far do you want to travel with that light to bring out certain shapes, you know? So there's some
Yeah.
of that orange light, which is shooting over the top like this, is coming down on the top of his thigh here, you know?
Yes.
And then you got the blue light coming from this side hitting on it. So that's cadmium red light here going into the magenta and then purple because you're further away from the orange light and you're moving more towards the blue light. So that's dioxazine purple right now. And then let me see what happens if I put some, see this light here is traveling here. Can you see that, Keith?
Yes.
So you get the blue light here and it's going into that orange light on the top and you got to keep fudging it so it doesn't turn to mud, you know, where the purple meets the blue and the, you know. So it's like, you know, it takes work.
Now, like the flames, right? You know, like right when you're up near the mouth, where that's like the most intense part, right?
Here?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's not even as bright as I'm going to get it yet. I haven't worked on this at all.
Yeah.
But
Yes. Yeah.
you know,
But
the
that
white is,
acts as a spot.
the what?
But as that flame gets further and further away, that stuff starts to take on the ambient light
Yeah,
cast, right?
yeah. Well, I mean, it goes into, this is cadmium red light. Then I start to mix in magenta into that straight cadmium red, straight magenta. And there you can see it on the edge because that's going into this slightly blue background. I don't know if you can tell it there. The magenta is a great color, and purple, to make those transitions from warm to cool, to keep the color from getting, you know, gray and muddy and dirty looking. You keep, you know, pure color. And again, like I say, there's nothing right or wrong about either way. It's a choice. That's all it is. You know,
Yeah,
it's a
might
choice.
look a little. It looks a little cleaner, and again, in my opinion, of what how you're doing it.
Yeah, it's cleaner, and I think for the subject, it's kind of appropriate because you're dealing with this wild setup and event, and just blasting atomic breath and this fiery dragon breath. I mean, you want color to be, you know, cranked
Yep.
up to get as much out of the color as you can possibly get.
I'm going to address a question here. David Ships, to answer that question, those sketches are given to Jean, his agent, and then she turns around and she sells them either via eBay or previous to this past year, they would take them to comic conventions and stuff like that, uh, and sell them through sketch boxes. But you could still get them all the time in different locations. Any of his preliminary sketches. It's a good way to own an original Hildebrandt at really a fraction of the cost of an original painting.
Your voice is getting very strange. You right? Are you there? Well, anyway, here we are again. Still now. There's so you've got the orange, fiery orange light, yellow at the core, yellow and white at the core, and the blue light, which is uh, cyanide blue and white at the core. And then in the shadow zone where there is no light hitting is the shadow color of the true color of Godzilla. The true color meaning he's grayish. So I mix up a dark shadow color here that would be the shadow color of Godzilla in a white light. So that I know that that's the neutral color. I don't know if that makes any sense. Or that's understandable. Is there anybody in there?
Yeah, not if you can hear me, Greg.
I can hear you. So here, you got this, all these.
So I lost all the comments. I lost the comments, but the last one I saw, someone asked if you plan your stuff pretty meticulously before you start painting.
Oh God. Yeah.
However, do you ever have happy accidents?
You mean run-ins? You mean freakouts? You mean I don't know how happy those accidents are.
Well, anything
Most
that
of
you
the
do
time it ends up like yeah, no, but I guess so. I mean, a lot of the times it's like, oh my God, what the hell? Where do I go from here? Oh, and I stare and I study and analyze because I mean, to me, painting is most of the work is done. Just sitting and staring. I remember John Huston said that once. I remember seeing him in an interview. He was a great director. He said, "Yeah, it took me years to convince my wife that I was working while I was sitting and staring out the window." Which is
It's
true, though.
true.
Yeah,
It is true.
absolutely, it is. I mean, you make a whole movie in your head, or at least a
Yeah.
sequence or a scene, right? Same with this. You once I define, I can't do that while I'm doing I do with the layout phase. I'm thinking, but when the pencil hits the paper to come up with the composition, I got to watch. The pencil's got to be doing a bunch of shit. But once you get, then you determine when you know this breath color is going to be this color, and this breath color is going to be that color. That's going to be the primary source of light, except for the backlight, which is all fire. So then you sit and analyze and think about that. To me, it's like a contemplative situation. A lot of it is just analysis, and again, then I get the model and I shoot it, And but that's so right from the very onset, you're thinking and analyzing right straight on through. So by the time I get to the paint, here's my palette for the warm colors. By the time I'm ready to mix that up, I know exactly what I want. There's no guesswork. And each pile of paint from the light, from white to cadmium red, cadmium yellow light, cadmium yellow medium, cadmium orange, cadmium red with magenta in it, cadmium red with purple. That mixture here, put down here with purple in it, that's my palette for the warm colors. And I keep them clean piles as much as I can like that all the while I paint, not muddying it all up with a bunch of glop coming in from all over the place. So
Yeah.
I know that I'm keeping the colors clean. And again, I think I talked about this last week. Tim and I evolved that method because I had a twin brother and we painted together. And if one guy had to take the palette home and work with it to his house, it had to be very succinct and clear. And I know that, like an individual painter, and sometimes when I paint certain pictures on my own, uh, I don't do work that way. I do work that way, but then I'll add a whole bunch of additional stuff in the shadow colors and stuff,
Okay.
But this, anyway, whatever. I don't know if that
Well,
answers.
it's a very efficient method.
Yeah,
Where you're working it out ahead of time.
yep. But I like what color does. There's a kick to it. You know what I mean when you're putting down this magenta color, and then with the red. And,
Uh, you know, I got two questions for you, Greg.
yep.
We're now doing these live streams. This is you've come up with these methods, which over the years uh, made it easy for you and Tim to work together, whether you were in the same studio or separately. But
Mm-hmm.
also, it allowed you to develop speed.
Right.
One of the things that you guys are known for uh, is creating a large amount of work in a very short period of time.
Right.
Whether it was the Tolkien calendars, the Marvel Masterpiece cards, or whatever. You're very efficient and you're very prolific. Now doing the live stream, right?
Yep.
With working on this commission, just you've slowed down this particular painting just so that we could do it live.
Yep. I stopped working on it last weekend. Well, we did it live last weekend, and then I worked for about 2 hours since then, putting some other stuff in, just to kind of like move it along a little bit. And most of it I did today, but I mean I did some other work during the week. I mean I didn't just.
Yeah. You're not sitting around.
Right.
You're doing other stuff. But has that thrown off your like your work patterns of now putting it to the side to specifically do it on Thursday?
No, it's all a matter of control. I mean, I've been doing this. I'm 82. I've been doing it professionally since I was 18. You kind of learn how to kind of like, especially in the operations that I've been. I started in animation in Detroit. That's a very precise art form. You learn procedure, you learn clarity, you learn efficiency, you learn all that stuff. There's almost no room for mistakes because you don't have the time to make mistakes. And you figure it all out and you think about it and you analyze it. And it has to be, I think, the main driving force in your life, or else you won't, it takes too much to do it. You have to keep at it till you get there. But you can get there if you stay at it.
Yep. One of the things that reminds me, do you know who Steve Jobs is or was?
Yeah, of course. I live in a cave, but
it's not that deep, right?
No.
He would wear the same thing over and over again because it was one less thing to think about.
Yeah.
And that's kind of, you've developed that method. Now it changes from painting to painting. The colors change from painting to painting, but the method is still the method.
Yeah, absolutely.
And that's kind of what that reminds me of. You don't have to worry about that step in the process.
No.
You could focus all of your energy right in front of you.
Yep. Exactly. That's the deal.
Now, someone asked, a question. This is aside from Godzilla. In the Marvel masterpieces, did you paint Elektra with no hair?
Electra with no hair? I don't remember. It's a long time ago.
Yeah. Okay. So Philip Gorkin. Sorry, we can't answer your question right now, but we'll look at that painting again
Yeah, I don't
and
remember, truthfully.
answer you next week.
I can't remember whether I did or didn't. Well,
I
those
don't.
things,
Yeah, I don't remember your Elektra painting. Yeah.
I don't. Yeah, I'm trying to remember it myself.
Dean 13 says he's amazed that you rarely get any of the paint on you when you hold up the paintings. Which, yeah, that part's true. But have you seen the front of his shirt, Dean? He wipes his brush. Okay, yeah, that's you know what? That's another thing of an effective method that you have developed over the years. Greg's painting shirts. Right. So here's the secret to Greg's painting shirts. He uses those shirts instead of a rag,
That's it right
right?
there. I
Or
used to have
paper
a rag.
towels.
Well, I mean, look,
Yeah.
they're my pants are the same. You know what I mean? It's like
Yeah.
you figure the rag was always on my lap, and then I wipe it, and then I get it on my clothes. So well, what the hell? So I wait till clothes got old or frayed or something. I just use them. You know?
Yeah.
Yeah. You ask many questions. Not enough though.
Well, you have many answers. You need more questions? Uh, so now, Greg, I see, from last week, you've got that wing coming in, right?
Yeah.
Uh,
Not
how
there yet, believe me.
how are you balancing out? What was that?
It's not there yet. It's getting there.
Oh, okay. So you're not finished.
No, no, no.
You're
It's not.
blocking it in. So, how do you take into account like the material of the wing, that
Well,
light behind it, and how much that glow light hits?
a lot. I mean, you have to kind of consider there's a certain amount of transparency that I like, even though it's a dragon wing, you know?
Hmm.
And so you want a little bit, like this one is the red side here. That's being lit from the back. You can't readily see it on the screen here, but this is red. This is not. This is raw sienna with purple in it, believe it or not, and red light into the raw sienna and purple. But this is straight. These are straight reds. So that's the red side of the wing, backlit from these fires, and this will be backlit to some degree. And I want to show that less red quality about it, you know,
Okay.
which becomes kind of like you paint it till it looks right. Who is it again that said that it's got a Neil Adams? It's got to be right or look right,
Yeah.
right?
I'll add to that. I always quote Joe Kubert in these things. He said, it has to. His was very similar to that. Be right or look right. If it looks wrong, even if it's right, it's wrong.
Exactly. I like that one. It's true too. Yeah. Even if it's right, if it looks wrong, it's wrong. But here's me. I mean, I have a tendency to move into these kinds of lighting setups where I get a lot of rim light. You know.
Yep.
That again, some people may say, "Well, how can you do that all the time?" Well, because I like to. You know. And I think it brings out shapes, and it adds to the drama of the scene. I think.
Yes, I agree. It helps define that silhouette.
Yeah. Yeah, that's
Now,
the issue there. Yeah. Okay, go on.
sorry, I have one more question just because I'm curious to how the wing is gonna work. Um, Now, the spines on his back glow, right? So, or will some of that blue be going?
Well, it depends. I thought so
Yeah,
at first. I thought so at first, Wait a minute. I'll be right back. Wait a minute. I had something here. Where the hell did I do with it? Shit. No, I cut out a paper wing shape. I don't know where I put it though. Oh, here it is. I cut this shape out.
Okay.
You know, and got light on it. You know, seeing how it would angle. You know what I mean? How
Yeah.
to do that. But this is like this. It's going back. It's not like this. It's going like this. You see?
Okay.
Not
Yeah.
like that. It's going like this. So it's moving away from you. It's too far in the back for that blue to have any impact on lighting it up. You get me? Because the blue,
Got you. Yeah.
the blue is here in the foreground. It wouldn't reach out there. It's not bright enough. It fights with the color that's already there. And if that value's lighter than the source of light here, well, that neutralizes this source of light. It wipes it out. See what I'm saying? These edges aren't done yet. These are going to get glowier. You know what I'm saying?
Yes. Yep. That's interesting. So that the more dominant light source will just
Wipes
wipe
out the other light, cancels it. So that's why I like to light stuff up like this, because you have very clear areas of light. There's a light here that's direct here. There's a light here that's from the back. So if you were to move that around the front, well, they would all merge together. So you got to keep your lights very separate from each other to make sure that all the colors that you're after get defined. You know?
Yeah.
Because if you move them all together from the front, it all just turns to white light. You know?
Yep.
So there's a dragon head here that he's squeezing, and that head will be lit up from this blue and from the top from the orange. And I don't know yet. I think I may. Here is the tongue of the dragon.
While you're painting that in, I'm going to address a comment.
What's that?
Elijah says, he thinks that the rim lighting is especially good at catching the eye from a distance, which is great for posters, T-shirts, and things like that.
Absolutely.
Which that's exactly why you do it, right? Is that
Yep.
you want to make that immediate impact on the viewer.
Yep. You got a fraction of a second to make an impact. I forgot what the hell it is. It's like a book cover. I remember when I used to do a lot of paperback covers. I forgot they had it all timed out back in the day when I was doing a lot of stuff for Valentine. How long you go into a bookstore, and unless you're looking for a particular author, it doesn't matter, right? You're looking for that author. But if you're just perusing a book paperback, it's the covers that get you. And you've got that much time to get somebody and a profusion of covers. So clarity is the best thing. Readability is the best thing. You know? That it reads right off the bat.
A nice, bold statement.
Yeah. So now here, like, there he's clutching her head. There's a female dragon. Or females? Has it got 5 heads? Is it plural or singular? What would that be? I don't know. Whatever.
I think it would all depend. It would depend if they have multiple brains and different personalities.
Well, I would assume they all do by the parents. I don't know. Somebody who knows Dungeons and Dragons will tell us, but they all have definite personalities in terms of their physical appearance and color. Each one is a different color and a completely different structure of their horns and everything. But in any event, yeah.
No, I was just going to go on. So is the dragon a singular dragon or is it conjoined?
Yeah. That's like a Siamese twin sort of like thing.
Yes, the conjoined twins. That's what the...
Well, in any event, this one, I'm thinking maybe like he's clutching her neck, like this kind of thing here, which will be defined. She's got her eyes closed, that kind of thing. And maybe, I don't know, probably. just to get some light here, maybe, is to do her last gasping breath kind of like thing. You know what I mean?
Yep.
Sputtering.
I'm gonna
You know?
get another comment here, Greg. Where I'm gonna have you. You're gonna comment on this.
Okay.
You viewer North Free says that, he loves how Greg always talks about the importance of light. Too many artists concentrate on composition, and their work lacks life as a result. However, yes, Greg always talks about light. Light is very important, but you do say that composition is first and foremost.
Number one. And I'm not the one that said that. Howard Pyle said that, the great grandfather of American illustration. Absolutely number one is composition. Position of the objects within the picture plane. Primary center of interest, secondary center of interest, third set. How to circulate the whole thing. Like I said before, this thing compositionally is a triangle, which is a powerful image. And it's also circular because you have the wings going around here, you see? You've got a triangle and a circle. That's composition. That's composition. Placement of all the objects. Key. Because how many pictures have you seen in the past where they're magnificently painted, but something about them isn't like quite as bam, because it's off. Something, the primary center of interest is way in a corner, off too much, or
Yeah.
So the great light.
That really goes back to the Renaissance days, right? Where the golden or the golden means and
yeah, and the Romantics. I mean, what's the one in the Met? The Death of Socrates, is that Angra or David? I always get them confused. But he's sitting.
I'm not sure.
You know that picture? He's sitting.
I do know the picture. Yes.
That composition, bam, right? Is so strong and formal and powerful. Then, of course, you can take a composition like Degas, where he would off-center stuff. He knew what the hell he was doing. It looks like he wanted that feeling that you kind of walked in on something. Mm-hmm. Got a snapshot, sort of, where it wasn't perfection in terms of composition. But that takes knowing composition like crazy to do that, to pull it off, and not have it just be a mess.
Know the rules to break them.
Right. So composition is critical. I never. That's number one. I've said this before. I think we were talking, Keith. In my opinion, composition is number one. Drawing is number two. How well drawn is everything in the damn picture? Rocks, clouds, fire, shapes, dragons, whatever. How well drawn is it? Then that's number three. Number four is lighting. How's it lit? Dark against light, light against dark. And color would be last in a sense. As much as I love color, it really is not something that I really even think about, because once you define the setup, the composition, this particular, say this one, you know what the colors are going to be. It tells you what the composition and setup and event tells you what the colors are. Yep. And characters and environment. That tells you what the colors are already. You see?
Yep. But you have a particular obsession with light.
Yeah, I mean, that Tim and I always had that. We did our own photography. We did photography professionally, and I mean, going back to the movies, I think Technicolor film and black and white movies that we used to go to the Saturday matinees and sit there all day long and watch movies. That we were really aware of lighting back then, and Disney and early stuff, Snow White, Pinocchio. You take it where the light is very predominant, the sense of lighting in that film. Mm-hmm. And that really, I saw that when I was 5, and that really impacted us, both of us. Yeah, that's always been a critical issue. So.
Now, sorry if I'm mispronouncing your last name, Adam Cheat. what was it like when you worked with Tim at the same time? Was it hard for you guys? Was it easy for you guys?
Well, no, it was easy. It was like one person working actually because remember we were twins, so we started together in the womb. Simple as that. I mean, and then when we were both obsessed with art equally, and we it was like a single unit working in a sense, the two of us, because we would work on everything together. We work on our own stuff too individually, but we would always come together and work on things from a very very early age. We used to make a lot of costumes. Once I remember making a dinosaur suit, a T Rex, and Tim and my dad started at GM in the stock room, worked his way up to head of office supply for Chevy back in the day. And we lived in Detroit, and he worked for GM, the main building downtown. And we had a constant supply of raw material, like masking tape and dust cloths. So dust cloths that used to literally they were what unbleached muslin is what it was, and he'd bring home giant boxes of it. So I remember once we'd start with the suit. We started to build up around, one guy would stand there and we'd start to build up on a pair of pants, an old pair of pants, stuff it with newspapers, start to wrap masking tape, sculpting the legs of a T-Rex until I got to the top part of the body. And Tim would crawl out of it and then I would get into it so he could work on it for a while. And we'd shape the whole tail out of a lot of newspapers and papers wrapped with masking tape. And it came up to our midsection. I wish I had the damn thing. Midsection, and we'd start to build the top section with the arms like this, but we would be doing this like together, and I'd be making a mask on his face with a piece of cloth and sculpting and carving, or with tape and paint and everything. So we worked on everything together. So there was never a problem. We were two different personalities completely two different people when it came to outside work. But when it came to work, art, we were one person.
One vision.
Never fought about it. Fought about a lot of other stuff. Never fought about that.
That's awesome. That's awesome. Thank you for sharing that, man.
Yeah. Yeah. But you see here, David, I don't know. Maybe I'll make this dragon here belching out a last little piece of flame. Kind of like some smoke and stuff.
It's like a little lick of flame coming up.
Yeah, smoke coming out,
Yeah. David Bunn wants to know, what is the most iconic setting you have destroyed on canvas?
Holy crap. Well, unlike Chesley Bonestell, the great science fiction, fantasy, and matte painter in Hollywood who destroyed New York. Did you ever see those paintings he did of atomic bomb blasts in New York? Oh my God, look them up. They are freaking overwhelming. I've never done anything like that. Come to think of it, I don't know. I mean, there's how many Marvel masterpieces that we've done with destroyed buildings, but they're never.
Was anything being destroyed in that Civilization painting? Or were the settings just there?
Settings were just there.
Wow.
Yeah, I don't think there was too much wreckage. That was a funny painting because you had to do this battle scene, Catherine the Great fighting. The only thing they requested was Catherine the Great fighting Genghis Khan. And then they said mix in all the other things you want. So I had jets dropping napalm in the background. I had a Sherman tank from World War II. But they said no blood. I had all these dead soldiers on the ground, no blood. It was how do you do a war scene with no blood? But that used to be the film industry, Hollywood. You could never show blood, which always looked painless, right? Somebody gets shot, it never looked like it hurt.
I don't know if that's still the case. Like when we were doing magic, you couldn't paint blood. I did a painting arrow sticking out of the guy's chest.
Well, there was one point. Yeah, I remember there was one point where you could. It's all right, I think, to show some blood like on a ship, but you couldn't show an exit wound You know,
Yeah. No,
I
but
real
that's interesting.
warfare, fake warfare on paper like that is forbidden, but real warfare is okay.
Yeah, that's fine. And that makes too much money to not be fine.
That's right. That's a weird, very strange, hypocritical dichotomy, is it not? Seemingly, but that's a
Seemingly,
whole other
yeah,
story.
yeah.
Here we
We
are in
don't want to
fantasy
go there.
land, not reality land.
Yeah, not reality land.
So it's
Someone
better.
wants to
It's better
know.
to fight battles this way. Anyway,
I
what was
agree.
that, Keith?
I agree. So we'll move on. And you've talked about this on other episodes, but it's always worth talking again. Lance, so again, sorry if I'm butchering last names. Grube. How do you resist the lure or the allure of digital art? Does it have an allure to you?
No, I don't know anything about computers, so it has no allure. I'm totally flabbergasted by what people do on a computer. You know, it's amazing to me. I have no interest in it. I'm again, like
Yeah.
I say, I'm 82, and why the hell would I want to learn how to work a computer and do art with? I mean, it would take me another. Al Hirschfeld, you know, the great Al Hirschfeld said
Yes.
that in an interview I remember seeing years ago. Somebody asked me, "Would you like to learn to work to do this your ink drawings in a computer?" Well, why would I do that? It took me a whole lifetime to learn this. It would take me a whole other lifetime to learn that in a computer. And why would I want to do that? Because what I would be after is trying to do a painting with a computer when I've got real paint here. You know,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
ultimately you don't end up with a real object that's handmade. I'm still an old fart. I'm old fashioned in the sense that I like handmade stuff.
Yeah.
You know, it's like that's why I love the early animation. I don't care if it's Disney or Warner Bros. Or who the hell it is. Max Fleischer. I watched a movie like Popeye or Snow White or Betty Boop. All that's handmade. I Everything that you see on that screen is handmade. It's artists sitting there painting a background. It's artists sitting there on animation paper drawing sketches. It's an inker inking it. It's an opaquer opaquing it. It's all hand. That appeals to me. I like
Yep.
to know that it's handmade. You know,
Yep. And
and that's
you
just that's my era. That's what I'm used to. That's all that is. But computer art blows me away when I see it. You know, it's like incredible.
Yep. It's a tool. It's just like anything else. It's a tool, and
Yeah,
you're in a fortunate position um, for yourself in that with what you're doing and creating commissions or cover paintings or whatever else, uh, you don't need the computer to do it. I mean, certainly, the production team behind you scans it, photographs it, sends it off to go be printed.
yep,
But like with me,
right.
I do work and I do
I,
both.
I know.
I was almost exclusively digital for almost 2 decades,
Really,
right?
that long? Wow.
Yeah, yeah, a long time. Um,
But your painting is
and then
incredible.
really just flip back to do all of it traditional. But like with I work in advertising,
Yeah,
as you know, doing storyboards and stuff like
yeah.
that. And at the way they're done and with the speed that has to turn around, there is absolutely no reason whatsoever to do them
Of course,
using paper.
of course.
Uh,
Hey, look, if I was younger and I was in the business starting or halfway, whatever, in it for a while, I'd be doing that too. There'd be no two ways about it. But
yep,
at this stage, it's kind of pointless,
yep,
for me. It doesn't. I mean, if I was in your situation where I had to produce, like that, yeah, I would I would see myself doing that. But not now. You know,
yeah.
and
Because
but
it's whatever's the fastest and most efficient, uh, I guess, for the job at hand. But with what you're doing, there's two parts to the job. There's the commercial job aspect of it, and then there's the resell aspect of it.
Yep.
You know, the selling of the tangible product.
Right.
And
Yeah. And doing commissions, private commissions like
Yep.
this,
yeah,
which the gentleman, he has hired, commissioned 40 artists so far to paint Godzilla in various modes, right?
He loves Godzilla.
Yeah, that's really, I like that. Well, I like people with obsessions. I mean, come on, what the hell is this all about? Doing art is an obsession, driving, obsession. That's what it's all about. And loving it and enjoying it. And
So here's someone has this question, which you've only been on the periphery of this
Okay.
conversation.
I keep spraying paint here. Wait a minute.
Yeah. What are your thoughts on NFTs?
Well, every time I hear that, what I think of is LSMFT. Lucky Strike means fine tobacco. If anybody can remember that. That used to be Lucky Strike's ad line. LSMFT. Lucky Strike me fine. That's what I think of. So I heard that. You guys have been working on that, and other people keep talking about it. And there's a big thing now. I really don't even know what the hell it is. I mean, I'm kind of like grasp it. I don't really care. You know what I mean? I don't have an opinion one way or the other, except I know it's happening. And I suppose we're getting into it. Or should I say more particularly, you and Gene are getting into it. So Keith has disappeared, so I will go back to this. The thing is, how bright do I want it?
Thank
you. Yep.
Comments.
You're back again?
Yep, I'm back again if you can hear me.
I can hear you.
All right, I guess so. We jumped off NFTs.
Yeah, that's something I know very little about. I know that you guys are working on that, and that's all I know.
Yeah, and that's fine. You don't really need to know more than that.
Nah. No. I know that people. What?
There's the NFT conversation is it's a multifaceted conversation that can be discussed from a multitude of angles, and it's
Yeah, I got it.
We'll see. We got to see what happens.
I know that people have spent some outrageous amount of money on things that are not even a real piece of art.
Purely digital.
Yeah, that's interesting. But I mean, I can understand that. It's another form of. It's a conversation about. It's a conversation about value.
Yes.
It's like gold. Gold has no freaking value. It's only an agreement between people that it has a value. There's no intrinsic value any more than this has a value. If everybody was to agree that this was the value of gold, and the conversation was in place, then they'd be. It's an agreement in a conversation between peoples.
Yep.
And I can get that this now is a new conversation, that there's a value here.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, things are valued and unvalued throughout time. Artwork, right?
Yeah.
You couldn't give comic book art away or animation art away in the past. Nobody wanted it. It was thrown away. There was no value to it. What?
Yeah. Threw it away in dumpsters. All the Prince Valiant stuff, all that stuff. Trashed.
So in that, well, the value to me is, the object of itself, and the fact that it's a handmade piece by Hal Foster, a Prince Valiant page. I knew he drew it. There's something I value that. Other people don't value that.
Yep.
So it's about again. It's a different form of agreement to what's of value,
Yes. Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
I guess.
It's very much like the collectible market,
Yeah.
like old toys. How much old toys? All
Or
right. I'm flipping back to
Hem.
some of the the older comments here. Uh, Someone is asking about your old uh, self portrait. So they have a Hildebrandt book that you did a painting in 1974. You're in a top hat and glasses reflecting spaceships.
Yep.
Do you remember this painting and what was its meaning?
I have it hanging up in my collectible room. I'm
Yes.
overseeing all my. I have it on the wall with all my old. My portrait is observing all the old comics and toys of that room. It's where it hangs. I started that day, one night, out of just I felt like doing a self portrait. It was just for no other reason. So I started probably at 2 in the morning. I normally never work at night. Once in a while I do. And I just said, "What the hell?" I looked at myself in the mirror and started painting a picture. And I had this old top hat. And when I got to the glasses, I had the eyes all painted in, and I just stared at it. And I said, I like flying saucers are cool because I've always had a flying saucer hang up since I was a kid. You know, Tim and I used to
Yeah.
spend entire evenings sitting out on the porch in the back of our house, studying the skies. Tim would sit there for an hour. He would come back in. I would go out, and I would sit there for an hour. And we did that for maybe a 6, 7, 8 months straight once, waiting to see a flying saucer. We saw lots of comets, shooting stars, people call them, but no flying saucers.
Never abducted. Never got abducted.
No, I never got abducted that I know of. But I mean, it
Hope
could have been
for it.
wiped out. You know what I mean? I don't know.
True.
But I like flying saucers. You know, I like it's they're it's one of those things. You know? So I've stuck it in
It
my eye.
is. Have you ever watched the show Ancient Aliens
Uh, yeah, it's been out for a
on
while,
History
hasn't it?
Channel? Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, I think
I
yeah,
just
it was.
I just started. It's one of the most ridiculous things ever, but there's something.
They're
There's a
fun.
guilty pleasure
Of course they are.
in
The Anunnaki.
hearing these guys talk about the Anunnaki and
In the Sumerian, it's Anunnaki, and in the Old Testament, it's the Nephilim or Nephilim, however you pronounce that, right? Those who
yeah,
came from up there.
yes, it's great
It,
stuff.
of Zechariah Sitchin, he was the lunatic man. He wrote like 7 books on that, I think, on the Anunnaki. It was like I, I can't imagine. The guy was just his whole life was about trying to show that this was real. You know, he'd travel around the world and see all these monuments and pyramids and everything and old caves and anyway, it's endless. It's
Well,
intriguing.
a lot of
I don't believe any of that. You know, it's like all the conspiratorial shit. I don't believe any of that stuff. But when it comes to aliens, of course, I mean, the possibility is very strong. We'd be insane and so vastly egotistical to think that there was not life elsewhere. Come on, there's no two ways
yes,
about it. I like to say that I don't believe anything, but I believe in the possibility of everything. You know, the possibility.
that's probably a good way to be. Yeah,
Yeah, you know, it's like
it's
whatever.
all possible.
Flying saucers.
All
The
right, we
Earth
have a
versus
few.
the flying saucers. Ray Harryhausen. Come on. Or the one in the day the Earth stood still, where it lands in Washington. The
Yes.
hatch opens and Klaatu and Gort walk out. That's a great
Yep.
film. Just warning America about getting off their shit, right? And the world, actually.
So we've got another comment here. I'm going to address it from Michael. Again, today's the day of me not being able to pronounce last names. Cuff, Shuff, Shoof. Sorry, Michael. Either way, he says, Greg has always inspired me with his use of warm and cool colors. What are some of his top color tips that he likes to share with emerging artists? Michael, do yourself a favor and watch this whole series of Greg's live streams. He talks a lot about his color theory, his use of lighting, and things like that. You're going to pick up a lot of good stuff, not only from the Just Trying to Get It Right series, but his other painting demos that he has up on YouTube. You can hear Greg talk about it for hours. All right. I saw Gene peek her head in. Hi, Gene.
Yeah, hi Keith.
How's it
There
going?
you
The key, though, the answer is if there's a cool light, there's a warm shadow. If there's a warm light, there's a cool shadow. Cool light, warm shadow, warm light, cool shadow. That's a kind of a base platform. Just think about that for a while and go observe light, study light. I would say study light before you even make any moves to paint it. See what it's doing. Look at the color of a light and look at it shining on an object and see what color that object is and see that color of that object has been dictated by the color of the light shining on it. So white under a orange light looks orangey. White under a sheet of white paper, say, under a warm colored light is going to look slightly warmish yellowy. A piece of white paper under a blue colored light is going to look slightly bluish. So the color of light determines the color of all the objects in the scene or whatever it is you're painting. Color of light's
Cool.
critical.
The color of light is absolutely critical. So, got another thing that's going to lead us to a different conversation and perhaps introduce Lance to a whole slew of your artwork that he might not be familiar with. Lance asks, what are your thoughts on nudity in art?
It's been around forever. My thoughts about nudity, you mean whether I should paint without clothes on or? No, I mean, I've been painting nudes since I was aware of nudes, and drawing them. I think everybody, that's one of the things you do. Nudes have been, what do you mean? The question is, look at
He
the
might not be
Sistine Ceiling.
familiar with the American Beauty series.
Yeah, I got a
so
pinup
Lance,
series.
Yeah, but Keith, you really have to make a distinction here. Are we talking about full frontal nudity, or are we talking about what Greg does, which is nudity from the waist up, but never from the waist down?
Well, he just says, what are your thoughts on nudity in art? So, okay, if you want to make that distinction, do you have a distinction on nudity in art?
I have no distinction. I mean, nudity is nudity, and clothes are clothes. I mean, I have to have a more specific question.
He'd paint
Okay,
a
well,
full
I will.
nude, Keith. That's not the issue. I mean, if he was painting just nudes, okay, straight nudes, fine art nudes, okay, I don't think it would matter at all. But when you're doing pinup art, it really, you have to look at your audience and you have to look at where it's going to hang in their homes, in their garages, in their man caves, whatever, and so you're probably not going to do full nudity in pinup art.
Well, but look at the Sistine Ceiling. There's full nudity all over the place.
It's not hanging in anybody's
It's
garage.
hanging in a cathedral in the Vatican.
But you yourself, obviously, knowing your art, have no problem with nudity
Not in the
being
least.
in art. Now,
No, it's one of the things that you draw when you start to draw. I've had the Andrew Loomis, The Human Figure for All It's Worth, the book, which I would recommend to any young artist or old artist for that matter. Andrew Loomis, his illustration book and his book on drawing the human figure. I had that when I was starting high school, 14 years old, and then so I've been doing nude drawings for forever and paintings. So it's just one of the other things you do as an artist.
Yeah.
It isn't up here or it isn't down here. It's just one of the other things you do. If he's asking me whether I have a moral hang-up about it, absolutely not at all.
Yeah.
If that's the question, morality, you know what I mean?
Yeah. So, yeah.
As Betty, I think I'm paraphrasing Betty Page, the great model. She said,
Mm-hmm.
God made the human body, humans made clothes. That's kind of cute. I think that's kind of cute.
It is cute. And, maybe this says something about me. I don't know. I think it's a good addition. I'm not in a puritanical sense of where everybody needs to be buttoned up all the time. But clothes kind of make some mystery there.
Oh,
Right?
absolutely.
You know,
Sure.
there's the intrigue.
Yeah.
The intrigue. So, yeah, humans got creative with it.
Yep.
Oh, thanks, Dean 13. I'm having trouble with the pronunciation of last name. So Dean 13 busting my chops that he's going to make accounts with more difficult names every week. Thanks, buddy. Appreciate that one.
So I mean, I don't know whether that answers anything, but I found it. I think we
Yes.
talked about this the last time about when I went. I had 6 months of art school. I wanted to be an animator, and I kept writing letters to Disney about what I had to do to apply for an animator's position. And they said go to a school that focuses on life drawing, perspective, and anatomy. And we found one in Detroit, Tim and me, believe it or not. Great school, old line school. After we got out of the army, and 6 months active duty, we were in the reserves. And we went to the school. It was a 6 month course, and it was a life drawing, and he focused on that. That was a predominant focus for the school. You do a whole week of life drawing, and then the second week was anatomy, perspective, color, and design. And we never had a painting class. We learned the theory of light and color, light and its impact on color in that class. And I draw nudes for a whole week, and you know 10-second poses, 60-second poses, 2-hour poses, a whole mix of things.
He actually he expanded on the conversation and actually takes it to a slightly different realm, which is interesting here. He says that erotica seems to help grab more attention. He's a tattoo artist, and he's like, if he's doing a red Sonja, if it's a topless red Sonja, it sells better.
Okay.
Which
So I was talking about sales.
Absolutely true. That's absolutely true. That's an old adage of sex sells. Always has,
Yeah.
and it always will.
Yeah.
But he's wondering, does it cheapen the art if you are using that to arouse the viewer as well as amaze the viewer? Like using nudity as a gimmick almost.
Well, nudity is a gimmick. Well, everything's a gimmick in that sense. Then, if you want to analyze it, light is a gimmick. Color is a gimmick.
Gimmick.
They're all there to attract your attention, to pull you in. However you do that, within certain limitations, of course. You're not going to do anything that's abusive to, I don't know what term to use. You know what I'm saying? But in terms of art, and it's an old. I mean, Puritan. We went to Europe and I had all my pinup art there. There's no hang up about nudity, and they had the posters. Parents bring their kids, and here in this country, the Puritans, I think, had a large impact. Did they not?
Yes.
And that's almost blasphemous to me that you would make the human body a sinful thing. It's not, to use their jargon, blasphemy.
Yep. Yep.
If they believe that God made everything, if you believe that God made everything, then everything's good.
Yes. Or I mean, that's a whole different conversation of
it sure is.
the usage of everything. What is the usage of it?
Yeah.
But I'm gonna, in my opinion, to comment on what Lance said, it really comes down to you and your personal preference on what you feel comfortable with. If you feel like you're cheapening something because you took the bra off, then stick to your own guns and don't do it. But
right. Exactly.
But if that doesn't bother you and it helps you make a living, man, it helps you feed your family and helps keep food on your table, then do what you got to do.
I mean, what damn it, I'd like to know is what harm does it do? Nudity. Who is it damaging? If you do a nude drawing or a painting, an artist does a nude. I mean, does this hurt somebody? Does it damage somebody? What's it do? I mean, is it like they want to blame people who come up with this kind of shit? They want to blame art. I don't know what I'm not saying Lance, but opening up the conversation. People people love to point at the arts and blame the arts for everything. The arts, film, painting, drawing, uh, sculpting, you name it, games. This causes kids to go stark raving mad, become juvenile delinquents. This causes people to go rape each other. This causes this causes that, this causes that. They've always aimed their guns at the arts over the centuries. You know,
Yeah.
I find that interesting. You know, that's a whole
Yeah.
book of 20 books in themselves, isn't it?
It is. And I mean, we've briefly talked about that before. It's easier to blame someone else than to accept personal responsibility
Totally.
in that
So,
case, like, and even just what you said just a few minutes ago of, you know, why is it wrong for, like television violence or an artistic nude, but real world
it's
global scale war
they
is,
get they get medals pinned on them. They get
yeah,
awards and medals and commendations for mass murder. I
and
mean, I'm not, I don't want to get into a whole anti-war thing, but
I will point out too that you did serve in the military. You were
I
in the
did. I was in
military.
the army, and if I was called into if combat, I was between Vietnam and Korea, so I never was in combat. If I was called back, then I would have gone. I sure would have gone. There's no two ways about it. I would have.
Yep.
In fact, the closest we ever came to was on our unit was on standby alert, as every unit in the country was, in Pontiac, Michigan, where I was in the reserves. With the Cuban Missile Crisis, they said go home and pack your duffel bag, which we did and kept it by the door, ready to go. And I would have gone, and whatever would have happened. So yeah, no, I'm not. I'm not anti-military. Don't take me wrong. I'm not anti-soldiers. I know a lot of them, and they're fantastic human beings. I'm not saying that. It's a edgy conversation. You know,
It is an edgy conversation. Yes.
but it's
I think that you can be supportive of the military. You can be supportive of the need of the military. You can
yeah,
be supportive of the usage of the military, and still question: uh, is this the proper time and place to use the military?
of course,
I think that's being responsible. It's being a responsible citizen
yeah,
to truly weigh the consequences of asking someone else to put their lives on the line,
yeah,
and asking someone else to take someone else's life.
and
That's
to live with that.
that's a massive responsibility. So I think it's fine to question whether it's something that we should or should not be doing at any given time.
Absolutely. And yet,
You know,
you support the military completely. I do. I mean,
absolutely.
without it, where would we be? You know, we would have been overrun a long, long time ago.
A long time ago. A long time ago.
So it's
Just
the
like Hong Kong getting overrun by Godzilla and Kong in that movie. There'd be nothing that you could do to stop the overrunning.
no, no that's the whole thing, war and peace, and that's a tough conversation. It's hard to have it, in a way. It's a difficult conversation.
It
It's
is.
not just simple. It's not easy. It's not all
No,
one. It's not
no.
binary. Is that the word? It's not one way or the other. It's
Yeah. There's
multifaceted. It's all over the place.
Yep, absolutely. And it's interesting place to get to from, a Kong versus a multi-headed
Fantasy.
or
Well,
Godzilla versus multi-headed.
but
And
but without conflict, what kind of art would we have had throughout history? Conflict has created some of the greatest masterpieces of all time
absolutely.
in paint and film and drama and
And music.
music.
Absolutely. And music.
It's
You know.
it's like you can't. It's yin and yang. It's up and down. It's hot and cold. It's all left and right. You know it's
Yep.
all part of one thing.
And Lance, thanks you for your service, Greg. And
Well, look at. I mean, like I say again, I was never in combat, so those who were, I have the ultimate respect for, and there's no two ways about that. To do that, you know, it's incredible. But these are interesting conversations.
Yeah, very interesting.
Art, you know, it's like you wonder how long we would have survived without art, the human race.
Yeah,
I think we
yeah, I
would have
know what you're
wiped.
saying.
I think possibly that's. I have no evidence to support it, but I think it's kind of like probably contributed to at least to our survival to some degree. Keith, you're frozen.
Okay, I think it's time to end this.
Well, we got to wait till Keith comes back so he can say the goodbyes.
Okay.
Am I back? Can you hear me?
You're back?
Everything shut off and then came back on. The the survival of the art, or our survival due to art.
You're off again. I'll wait for you to come back.
What was he saying?
We're talking. I started the conversation. We were talking about war and everything, and then I made the statement that there's no evidence to support it that I know of, but I think that art really, without art, we would have wiped ourselves out eons ago. Well, he started to respond, and then he froze up, and he's coming back. He's coming back.
He's coming back.
Keith is coming back.
Hey, how you doing, Greg? I'm back.
I'm all right.
No,
Okay,
Keith.
you were
Sorry,
going to
okay.
finish your statement about survival?
Okay, but you're at 5:15 now, so just so you know that. Did you hear me?
Your sound is off, Keith.
Can't hear you. Okay, everybody, thank you so much for joining us today. Seriously, we really don't know why, because I guess it's just that Keith lives out in West Jersey somewhere and they don't have the same kind of signals the rest of the planet has. But we love him. He does a fabulous job. If you're enjoying Greg on these live streams, tune in. It's Thursday at 4 o'clock, no matter what. And like us on Facebook and Instagram and Twitter and God knows where. And we have all sorts of wonderful things on spiderwebart.com. Isn't he cute? Look how cute he is.
Cute.
So cute. He's so cute. Anyhow, and we'll see you next week. Thank you so much for coming. Goodbye, Keith. I can't hear you, but goodbye.